The vast majority of the reasons that so many marriages fail in their first 5 years are completely avoidable. That's why in this video, I'm going to share the top 5 reasons for why half of all first marriage divorces happen in the first 5 years and the antidotes to each of those reasons. So that hopefully, if you're a newlywed or if you're preparing for marriage, then you can start your marriage off right by avoiding these pitfalls altogether. I'm Cameron, I'm a marriage therapist, and on this channel, I share all the most valuable lessons I've ever learned from my personal and professional life for how to build a lifelong marriage. So let's get started. Reason number 1 why so many marriages fail in the first 5 years. The couple is not prepared for marriage. So this often looks like having some really serious unresolved issues going into the marriage that show up even just a couple months after the wedding. So for example, cheating, verbal abuse, other serious relationship issues with committing to each other fully or being fully in the marriage. And all of these things existed for couples before they got married. They were hoping that by getting married, though, that it would help resolve those issues naturally. When in reality, when you get married, you are taking on much more responsibility in the relationship. You're committing not just for today, not just for tomorrow, but forever. But that added responsibility only helps you be a better spouse if you choose to become a better spouse as a result. It's not just going to naturally fix the relationship. In other words, getting married can serve as additional motivation to become a better version of you, but it's not going to make you better just by having a wedding. The antidote to not being prepared is pretty simple. It's to get prepared. It's to sit down and talk with your fiance or your girlfriend or boyfriend about what you're looking for out of a marital commitment. What life do you want to have? What does it mean to you to be married? And start building the relationship skills that you guys know you need right now for your relationship, but are going to need even more once you get married. A great place to start is a recent video of mine that I put out on the 11 most useful communication skills from marriage therapy. You guys can watch that video and start working on some of those skills together before you get married or as soon in your marriage as possible to make a real difference for yourselves, not just in the first 5 years of the relationship, but for the rest of your time together. And the other thing you can do besides building these intentional relationship skills is to start acting like somebody who is ready to get married. That means getting serious about your job. That means getting serious about the people you spend your time with, how you spend your free time, how you treat your spouse, how you treat your spouse's family and your own family. Really getting into the mindset that you have to become an adult. It's time to be somebody who can take care of someone else in whatever way you and your future spouse have decided is right for both of you, but trying to adopt those habits and those character traits that you want to have when you get married. The second reason why so many marriages fail in the first 5 years is unrealistic expectations about what marriage will do for your relationship. So this one ties into the previous one in that if you are expecting getting married to save your relationship, to make you and your spouse more compatible, to encourage your spouse to change, chances are you're going to be disappointed. Yes, marriage is a lot of responsibility and it can be very motivational, but that's only something that you can rely on within yourself. Because you can't make your spouse change, you can only rely on you changing to meet the demands of marriage. But if you're thinking that by getting married, the person that you're dating is going to suddenly become more serious about you, suddenly treat you better, suddenly take the relationship more seriously, then chances are your expectations are too high. You can think of marriage like a pressure cooker. It adds so much extra responsibility to your plate. It's a much bigger deal than just dating or even being engaged. And so it's going to highlight significantly what already exists in your relationship. So if your relationship's already awesome, then marriage is only going to make it better. But if your relationship is on the rocks or you guys are having some serious issues, marriage is going to bring those issues out even more. When you enter into an agreement with someone where you're choosing never to walk away from them and to work things out with them for the rest of your lives together, that's committing to accepting all of your spouse's flaws, all of your flaws, and all of the flaws of the relationship. You're accepting all of those things for the rest of your life. The antidote to this pitfall is to first talk to the person that you're dating or engaged to about your expectations and about their expectations for what it means to get married, why you're getting married, what you guys think is going to happen. And then you can probably figure out together, in addition to talking to other people who are married, who have made it work, and then figure out if your expectations align with the common reality. If you guys do choose to talk to other couples about what it's like to be married, I'd encourage you to choose people who are happily married, who have made it work, because you want to learn from people who did it well. Because if you only talk to people who got divorced or people whose marriages didn't work out for some reason, or they're not happy, they're not going to be able to tell you how to make a marriage work because they haven't done it. So talk to people whose marriages you admire and figure out exactly what you're signing up for and how to be a great spouse and all of the ways that you can prepare for marriage before you get to a point where the relationship is suffering. Now for the third reason why so many marriages fail in the first 5 years, a lack of commitment. So oftentimes couples will get married, but they'll still want to act like they're single. They'll still want to go out late with their friends and not let their spouse know. They'll still want to put their own needs before their spouse's or before the relationship. They'll want to flirt with other people. They won't want to get serious about their career or about becoming a financial contributor to the family. They won't want to talk about the future. And they'll really just want to live like a bachelor or a bachelorette, which is totally fine until you get married. And oftentimes this is what couples will see early on in their marriage, is that maybe that lack of commitment was okay before they got married, but as soon as they said I do, they started expecting a lot more commitment from each other. And when they weren't willing to give that, that became a clear sign that they probably were never going to get the commitment from each other that they wanted. So the very simple antidote to a lack of commitment is to go all in. It's to be totally committed to the relationship and to make your marriage your top priority. And if you're not ready for that, that's okay. Just don't get married yet. Just wait until you're ready to say that more than my career, more than my other friends and family and relationships, more than my own personal needs even, I often am going to have to put the marriage above all of those things if I want it to work. I like to say that what gets prioritized gets done. So if you're sitting down and looking at the week ahead and you haven't slotted in specific times that you're going to spend with your spouse, you haven't thought about the sort of spouse that you want to be before scheduling all the other things you have to do, then that means that you aren't prioritizing the marriage. Prioritizing your marriage doesn't mean you're spending more time with your spouse than you are at work. It doesn't mean that you are with your spouse all the time to the detriment of all your other relationships or responsibilities. It just means that you sit down with your spouse and talk about what you both need and make sure that you're meeting those needs for each other as much as possible. That if you're going to miss out on meeting one of your spouse's needs, then it was absolutely necessary. It was the last thing that you were willing to give up on your list of priorities. Reason number 4 why so many marriages fail in their first 5 years, a misalignment of values and life goals. So this one's really tough because this is a lot more about who you choose to marry than it is about anything that you can do or say or change in your own life to improve the marriage. And the reason for that is that our values and our major life goals that stem from our values are not things that we can change without compromising who we are. And as much as you want to make a marriage work, maybe one of the only things that you should not prioritize your marriage above is staying true to who you are as a human being. Because if you sacrifice who you are, then it's not even really you that your spouse is married to anymore. And you're not even living your life. And I know very few people who would want that for themselves or for their spouse. So before choosing the person you're going to marry, you have to make sure that you guys align on all of the most important life values. So that's things like your religion, your political worldview, your views of gender roles in the home or how you're going to divide up the labor, what is effective and healthy communication to you, the lifestyle that you want, your financial goals, your financial values surrounding how you spend and save money, and your approach to parenting, and if you even want to have kids and how many and when. All of these things are hugely important values that if you guys are significantly misaligned in any one of these areas, chances are the marriage is really going to struggle. As for life goals, that's things like the marriage that you want to have, so the exact vision of your marriage that you want to build with your spouse, the family you want to have, the community involvement you want to have, what financial situation you want to reach, as well as other career goals, fitness goals or health goals, and then spiritual goals. So do you have any goals in your life that are specifically about your religion or spirituality? The antidote to a misalignment of values and life goals is to make sure that you talk to the person that you're planning on marrying before you get married about all these hugely important topics to make sure that you guys are compatible enough to make it work, not just for the first 5 years of your marriage, but for the entirety of your life and of your marriage together. One really simple way to do this together is actually the Us Authoring program that I am almost done with and I'm so excited to share with you guys. It's totally free. I've been spending months putting together this guided program where you and your fiance or your spouse sit down and go through all of your goals for the future of your life together. You go through all of your values and you figure out all the ways you're aligned and all the ways there might be slight misalignments where you need to come to some sort of middle ground to not only reduce conflict in your relationship, but really strengthen your bond over this future vision of the life you two want to have together. If you want to join the waitlist so that you're notified as soon as the program comes out, you can go to lovebyhitched.com. I'll also put that link in the description of this video. And now for the fifth and final reason why so many marriages end in the first 5 years. Couples slide versus decide. So this is my way of describing a situation where a couple has been together for a while, maybe they're already living together, they're already sleeping together, and in a lot of ways, they already feel like they're married. They are living as if they are in a lifelong relationship, and they're doing all of the things that you do when you get married, but they just haven't had a wedding yet. And what ends up happening is that a lot of couples at this point will see marriage as just the natural next step in their relationship, rather than a really pivotal moment that signals to both of them that they are about to significantly increase their commitment and their responsibility to one another. And the issue with that is if you make it so easy to get married, that marriage is just one more small step in your relationship instead of a really big step in a totally different direction, then it also makes it easier on the back end to get divorced later. Because it feels like a divorce, even though it has all this legal involvement and it's more complicated, it doesn't feel that much bigger of a deal than just breaking up in the relationship before you got married. Because after all, the marriage itself was not that big of a deal. It's as if the couple slid into the decision rather than making a very intentional choice to be together for the rest of their lives. The antidote to sliding is deciding. It is making an intentional choice before your wedding day that when you two get married, that you are choosing the person that you are committing to for the rest of your life, and you are choosing the right time to get married, that you feel like you're ready and you believe in your heart of hearts that this is the person for you and you are the person for your fiance forever. And that means really sitting down together and talking about what it means to get married and what you guys are going to do when you run into issues and when you have difficult life transitions or difficult situations that you have to deal with, or you're having conflict in your marriage. Talk about the things that could come up in the future and figure out a way that you can deal with those issues and still stay together and still prioritize the marriage and stay in love, because life is going to throw a ton of curveballs, and those only increase when you get married because now there's two people in the household and you're both getting thrown curveballs by life. And so you have to figure out a way to stick together even when life gets really challenging. Okay, guys, those are the top 5 reasons why so many marriages end in divorce in their first 5 years, as well as the antidotes to each of those reasons, so that hopefully you can take this knowledge and start your marriage off right and avoid all of these issues and honestly just build a fulfilling and harmonious lifelong marriage. That is my hope and prayer for you. And before you go, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And if you know anyone who could benefit from this message, please do share it with them. It really helps the channel grow. I'm Cameron, and this is Modern Marriage.